Good morning, Facebook. I'm hoping you can hear me. Let me move this around a little bit. Playing with another new mic. Playing with another new thing. Let me see what we are doing here in the Facebook group. We are on for Biz Talk Tuesday. Hopefully you can see me. I can see me. I can see me. I'm going to share this into the Facebook group, and let's see, I'm going to share it on my page, my personal page. Okay. Hey, good morning, Facebook. It's Ingrid Owens here with Biz Talk Tuesday, and the day that I get on here live. I'm 3 for 3 now every week. I love it. I am doing a little earlier today, so I know I will probably miss some people who are going to expect me to be here at 10 a.m. But this morning I have to be here at 9 a.m. because I have a prior commitment at 10, which is all good fun. So if you're watching the replay, please feel free to post any comments or questions in the comment. Use hashtag replay. If you're on here live with me, I'd love if you would drop a line in the comment. Tell me where you're at. Give me an emoji. Let me know what the weather is like in your part of the world today. Spring has finally sprung here in Atlanta, and it's starting to get a little warm, which is awesome. So in case we have not met before, my name is Ingrid Owens. I'm a business coach and marketing strategist for creative entrepreneurs, and I help people grow from idea to business with a number of different things. We have group programs. I have a group program. I do personal one-on-one coaching, all that kind of jazz. So today what I wanted to talk about was, how do I know, or how do you know, or how do we know if our work is good enough? When you're transitioning from that place of, I like taking pictures and I'd like to make a business out of this, or, I've got this idea for a blog, but I don't know if it's really good enough, or will it fly? There's a lot of different mindset stuff comes into play in that, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, and actually one of the things that stops us from moving forward in all of that is this whole idea and this notion of knowing whether you're good enough or your work is good enough. And right now, I'm going to put aside the you-bees and separate that out from your work, which actually is really hard to do when you're a creative entrepreneur, because when you're a creative, your personality, your persona is very much tied into your work, and your art is a reflection of you. So I understand how hard it is to separate those two things. But in this call, I thought we would just talk about the 4 ways that you can approach dealing with feeling that maybe your work isn't good enough. Okay. Especially if that is stopping you from moving forward in creating a business out of your creative endeavors. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, I have some little some notes here, because I really enjoy this topic, and I can go off topic, so I want to keep myself centered. The first thing that I wanted to point out is a quote which I have to find and put on here. It always comes to mind when I think of these things, by Ira Glass from NPR and This American Life. And he talks about the whole idea and concept of you having taste. So as a creative person, you get into creating your art because you have a specific taste, okay? And you've got taste, and your skills or your taste is honed in that particular area. So like if you're a photographer, you know what it is like to be a good photographer because you constantly consume good photos, and you're always looking and looking out past yourself at beautiful photographers who do wonderful work, and you're very impressed with that work, and you know what it is to take a good photo, and that taste is getting better and better and better all the time. You're honing that skill. And then when you produce your own work, you can sometimes compare that to the Nat Geo photographer, and you're like, mine's not as good, right? Because your taste is so finely attuned to what is good, right? So you've still got that knowledge of what's really good, but you judge yourself really harshly. And so much of this knowing, is my good work good enough, or is it any good, is which is something that I hear quite a lot, um, comes from this gap between knowing what you could accomplish and what is possible, and what you can see other people accomplishing. And it doesn't have to be photography. I'm talking about anybody who's in the creative space, right? You see other people's work and their end product, and you see yours, and you're like, wah, wah, mine isn't there yet. There's a gap between where it is. Um, okay, sorry, my computer's telling me things. We'll just ignore it. So yeah, so there's the gap. So it's knowing how to close that gap really is part of the thing. But the first tip that I have for you, or the first thing that I think we all need to encompass in this space, is giving yourself grace. Now, grace, I love that word, and it's actually something that I've really only come to really fully embrace my own self in the last couple of years. But we are so hard on ourselves. And I think that we do hold the bar for our creativity so very, very high. And it's almost impossible to reach that bar, because we know what's possible and we are creating art. And at the end of the day, art is never perfected. In fact, some of the most beautiful art comes from the imperfections, right? The key is not to judge ourselves harshly, and kind of almost talk to yourself like a child. Like, if you're beating yourself up about your photos or your writing, or any of your creative endeavors, that they're not good enough, just treat yourself like, and talk to yourself like you would a 6-year-old. Like, you're not going to like beat up on them because they haven't got everything in, or they're missing a piece, or they should have done that, or they could have done this. And that's kind of like in my Take 52 group, where I've been a little bit resistant with critiquing harshly, because it can be misinterpreted. So I believe that we have to treat our inner selves like our inner child when it comes to our art, and it should really just be all encouraging. So give yourself grace that you're not there yet. We are not the masters yet. Okay, so realize that those are voices inside your head. Okay, this second thing that I want you to think about is, remember why you are doing this creative work in the first place. Like, a lot of times our creativity um, is it not necessarily for business's sake. I mean, we don't necessarily, most of the people I work with or have worked with in the past have been creating photos, or doing their creative endeavors just because they love it, and actually because they have no choice. Like, if you're a creative person, you can't help yourself but do things. You can't help yourself but draw. You can't help but create your art. You don't have a choice. So your why, and why you're doing it, is really, really important. And remember that you're not doing it to be judged, and you can take 10,000 pictures to come up with that winning one, and that's okay. Nobody's judging your process. So don't be too harsh on yourself, and remember that why is the second point. The third thing is related to all that as well, which is all about managing your thoughts. We can be very hard, like I said, on ourselves, and the self-doubt creeps in a lot when you're a creative person, because of all that judgment and that self-sabotage, in a way that you can kind of stop yourself from creating, because you start to think about all the negative things and all the reasons why you shouldn't do something, or why it's not good enough. Okay, remember that those are just your thoughts, and you can choose to think different thoughts. Now, this is a simple sentence, but in reality, it's not easy to do. But if you are mindful of that chatter that's going on in your head, you can choose to think other thoughts. One of the things that I do is I like to journal. And when I am feeling all the self doubt, which comes all the time, and once you get over one bit, something else comes along. We were just talking about this last night with some of my biz besties. You gotta get it out of your head. Just write down all this stuff. I will do just like what I call a brain dump of all of the chatter that's going on in my head, all the reasons why this idea is not going to work. And then I can kind of say, okay, right, that's your opinion, voice in my head. But instinctually, I know intuitively that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Okay. So getting over the fact that a lot of this stuff is brain chatter, and we can control those thoughts, and we can choose to and accept a different thought and believe a different thought. Like, I know we've been programmed for years and years and years to believe a certain thing, but it doesn't have to always be like that. You can totally change that thought. So remember that and you'll hear this referred to a lot of times as your ego. Your ego is there. Your brain's trying to keep you safe. Like, it doesn't want you to feel like, put your art out there and feel like that rejection, and feel like, that somebody might hurt your feelings or whatever. So it's trying to keep you safe, but you're not, they can't eat you. So if you put up a photograph that doesn't look like it should, or that you thought it wanted to look like in your brain, you're like, this is not as good as it should be or could be. Nobody's going to eat you because of that. It's not, we're not in the realms of saber-toothed tigers here. Like, your ego is trying to still keep you safe, but the fear doesn't serve you at all. So push yourself a little bit forward, be courageous and do your work, create your work, and put those thoughts to one side and realize that they are just thoughts. And the third or the fourth thing, okay, so we've talked about, giving yourself grace, treating yourself kindly, remembering your why and why you're doing it, managing those thoughts. And the final thing is that maybe your work isn't good enough, okay? And really defining what that good enough is. Maybe you do need to take some more training. Maybe you do need some help. Maybe you need to lock yourself in a hotel room for a week and write your book, or get all that creative stuff out. And maybe your best work isn't every piece isn't your best work, but that's okay too, right? That's okay too. You can learn. This is we're creative beings. We're expansive beings. We're always trying to learn and improve ourselves. So if you feel there's a gap in your knowledge, find somebody to help you with that gap and learn it. Like, we live in such an amazing age where there's so much resources available to us. And if you have never come across creativelive.com, it's an amazing resource. They have a course on absolutely everything. And, set yourself the task to master a particular skill. So maybe, you do watercolors and you're lacking in a particular skill set to do with that. Take the time to master that. Find and be honest with yourself about the gaps in your knowledge, and then actively go to improve that. But don't come at it with I'm no good criticism, like this is all pointless, this should be better, it's not good enough, woe is me. Come at it from a solutions oriented thing. And that's what I do as a coach when I'm working with my people. Is we come from a place of solutions. We find how to help and bring you forward. We don't wallow in the, this is where we're at, and I got here because of all these stories. We focus on, okay, like, this is where you're at, let's move you forward. And there's no judgment. It's all about just motion forward. And so with that being said, if you are somebody who has a creative idea for a business and you would like to make that into a business, I am launching my new group program in June this year coming up. It's a small group 6-week program, and what we're going to do is take you from idea to business. So you will have, at the end of our 6 weeks together, the business plan, everything laid out. You're going to have your roadmap of how you're going to achieve what you want to achieve. It's not find, make six figures or do any of those things. It's all based around your family, your values, and your life, and what you want out of your business. And at the end of our 6 weeks together, you'll have that plan in hand and ready to go and implement. If you're interested in finding more about this, you can hop on a call with me. I will put the link below this live video. You'll hear me talk about it over the next couple of weeks a lot, but I am limiting it to a very small group. So if it is something you're interested in, get on a call with me and we can talk out what it is. And even if you want to just get on a call with me and say, like, I don't know, Ingrid, if this is even a thing, I can help you with that and tell you if it is a thing, and if I think it's a thing, and if it's not a thing, then maybe we can find a different thing. So I want to encourage you to get on a call. Like I said, I will be posting the link below. And if you have any comments or thoughts on this whole idea of being good enough and having your work and knowing if your work is good enough, I would love for you to write in the comments below. Let me know any questions and we can keep on chatting here after that. But that's all for now. I better run off, go see my next client, and I will see you all here again soon.